Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Eye of the Beholder. As longtime viewers know, I've been reviewing the Dungeons & Dragons miniatures produced by WOTC and WizKids for a 20-year time period between 2003 through 2023. We continue our review of the giant miniatures with a review of Death Giants and Ettins, along with a couple one-offs. Enjoy! Death Giants are a race of giants who have power over the souls of other beings. While not undead themselves, they are often wreathed in the souls of the dead. They are tall and gaunt, with grayish pallid skin similar to stone giants. While not evil per se, they are notoriously cruel, capturing the souls close to death and binding it to themselves, preventing any attempts to raise or resurrect by their companions.
We get our first Death Giant, or in this case, Death Titan, in 2008's Against the Giants set from WotC. Wielding a gigantic, two-handed, double-bladed battle axe, he is posed with the axe held high above his head in preparation of a savage downward strike. Clad in black leather with an incongruous dash of red on one wrist, the bald head has a fearsome visage, mouth open and fangs exposed. And of course, we have the translucent swirl of lost souls rising from the base and wrapping around the body. Très cool. Score: Paint 16, Pose 18, Playability 15, Pizzazz 24, for a score of 73. A year later, we get this Death Giant mini in 2009's Monster Manual Savage Encounters set. In this case, the swirl of souls whirling about the body is black, which actually makes it easier to make out the tortured faces of the damned. Bare-chested above a high metal belt exposes the gray pallid skin with a very visible spinal column on its back. Wielding the same weapon as the Death Titan, in this case held front and center in the ready position. Score: Paint 15, Pose 16, Playability 14, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 63. WizKids' first and only Death Giant in a regular set comes from 2023's Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants. Standing in repose, holding her helm in her right hand while in her left, her scythe grounded, note the curve of the handle and the violet translucent blade. Her face is beautiful but haunting, gazing slightly downward. Armor is gorgeously detailed. Note the skull belt clasps on the front and back, and the intricate engraving, pitted with damage. Score: Paint 25, Pose 23, Playability 20, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 93. WizKids does give us another Death Giant as a special release from the same set. Called a Death Giant Necromancer, this is a truly scary-looking giant. Gray face with pupilless eyes, pallid hands clasping a skull, and clad in a dark brown tunic under a hooded cloak is it for paint and pose. Of course, the most telling feature are the three spirits rendered in translucent blue swirling around the body. They are by far the most detailed of the souls we've seen surround these type of giants. Finally, check out the blade on her scythe, made of black necrotic energy. Score: Paint 23, Pose 23, Playability 18, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 89.
Doomwake giants are native to Theros and are born into existence when a city or region is subjected to dread and terror for a lengthy period of time. Once manifested, these monsters basically bring the terror into reality, raining death and destruction on the region as if prophesized.
So of course, we get our only Doomwake Giant mini in 2020's Mythic Odyssey of Theros set. With its massive chest and arms held wide at its side, this giant appears to be almost as wide as it is tall. Paint palette is on the dark side, but WizKids uses a glossy black on the body that catches and reflects light in an interesting way. Posed striding forward on bare feet, face looking down on his enemies as his dark brown hair streams behind, You don't want to be in his path. Score: Paint 15, Pose 15, Playability 14, Pizzazz 16, for a score of 60.
Eldritch giants are among the largest of the giants and have the most magical abilities. Obsessed with collecting arcane lore, they can be reasoned with and even traded with if what you offer is of magical nature. The more obscure, the better. Again, don't make the mistake they can't fight. When roused, they are terrible in battle, using magic to strip protections from their foes while killing you via spells or steel.
Our only Eldritch Giant miniature comes from WOTC's 2006 War of the Dragon Queen set. Stern of countenance, he is posed ready for battle, slightly crouched and sword at the ready. Well armored in plate, but with blue skin exposed at the joints, this miniature is beautifully detailed, the red hair and beard, the fur covering the back of the legs, but most of the many details of the armor, i.e. the skull at the codpiece, the various chains, and I especially like the well-detailed scabbard strap to his back. Score: Paint 23, Pose 20, Playability 17, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 83.
Whoever came up with the old adage, 2 heads are better than 1, never met an Etten. They are the epitome of the dumb brute, aggressive, ferocious, and unpredictable. Their thick hides make them reckless in battle, rushing into attack with crude weapons, usually one in each hand and each controlled by a separate head. Fun fact, Etten means ugly giant in Old Common and runt in Jotun, the language of giants.
We get our first Etten in 2005's Death Knell set. Called an Etten Skirmisher, he is armed with a small tree trunk in one hand and a mace that obviously picked up from a past victim in the other. The ogreish heads are looking in separate directions, perhaps tracking a group of adventurers that is trying to flank it. Both faces are nicely detailed, particularly the left one. Body is a dark uniform gray with a brown loincloth worn for modesty. Score: Paint 14, Pose 15, Playability 17, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 61. Three years later, in 2008's Dungeons of Dread set, we get this mini called an Etten Jack of Irons. I have no idea what that means. Armed with branch and axe, actually, this guy is way better armored than your average Etten, with bits of leather and metal strapped to his broad body. Posed again with each head looking at different targets. Neat little touch by WOTC to make one head blonde and the other brunette. Score: Paint 15, Pose 16, Playability 17, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 65. Later in 2008, WOTC gives us their last Etten mini in the Demon Web set. Called an Etten Spirit Talker, based on its name, I assume it's a type of shaman. The right head, with long flowing hair, controls the crude weapon in his right hand raised to strike, while the left, bald head roars out a battle challenge. Interestingly, the right hand has what looks like a demon skull strapped to it, either as a crude buckler or to add a bit of pain to the punch. I like the bones woven into the gray furs it wears over its tan body as well. Score: Paint 20, Pose 22, Playability 18, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 79. WizKids give us their only Etten miniature way back in 2015's Elemental Evil set. This mini definitely fits the book description. Pallid gray skin covered in the briefest of brown loincloth, dirty, stringy hair and beard, and bearing the crudest of weapons. Posed as if advancing to battle, its tree trunk branch held high above its head, ready to strike. Interesting detail. Note the many partially healed wounds, particularly on the back. This guy has survived many a battle. Proceed with caution. Score: Paint 17, Pose 20, Playability 18, Pizzazz 18 for a score of 73.
And with that, we are done with this set of giants. We'll be tackling fire giants and Fomorian giants with the next video. As always, thanks for watching Eye of the Beholder. Any feedback is welcome, and feel free to like and subscribe. See you all next week.